Give me a second. It's setting up the meeting. It's redirecting, and it's going.
Welcome to the Muscogee County School District, creating we and empowering futures together. This year, we're building stronger connections between our students, families, and community, ensuring every child has the tools to thrive in a rapidly evolving world. Cutting-edge technology and hands-on experiences to prepare students for tomorrow's challenges. Every voice matters. Our diverse and supportive environment fosters belonging and collaboration. Our mission is to inspire and equip all students to achieve unlimited potential. From STEM to the arts, we're equipping students with critical thinking, creativity, and leadership skills for life beyond school. The Muscogee County School District is a beacon of educational excellence, where all are known, valued, and inspired. We are proud to be named one of Forbes' 2024 Best Employers for Women and Best in State Employers. This recognition highlights our commitment to fostering an inclusive, equitable workplace that values diversity and supports professional growth. Our dedicated teachers and staff are passionate about helping every student succeed. We encourage you to get involved, stay informed, and help us continue making the Muscogee County School District a place where students don't just dream, they succeed.
Okay, so we are ready to get on with our board meeting. I want to say welcome to everyone to our regularly scheduled board meeting, January 21st. It is regularly scheduled, but we're in a different format because of the inclement weather in our region. But I do want to say welcome to everyone and thank you for joining us. Just for a little housekeeping, we had scheduled for House Bill 581 statewide floating homestead exemption hearings. We are only required to have 3, but we scheduled 4 because we advertised for that hearing will be postponed until the 4th one. The one that we would have had tonight will be postponed until our February meeting. And just to give the dates, the next one is February 10th, 2025 at 5:00 p.m., February 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And if there are any additional changes or dates, of course, we will update the public accordingly. We will go on into our inspiration. Ms. McCray.
Yes, I thought it was fitting to share a inspiration from Martin Luther King Jr. as we celebrated the holiday yesterday. It is the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And if you would all join in with me, board members, we should have our video on and our microphone unmuted. We could say the Pledge of Allegiance with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic
from which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much. Item 1.03, I need a motion to approve the agenda. Before we do that, if you are signed in, logged into Board Docs, go ahead and vote electronically. If you are having any issue with that, do raise your hand in your camera, state your name and say yes or no, and to indicate whichever way you're voting. So 1.03, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. That's
That
Naomi.
was,
Naomi.
all right, motion by Ms. Buckner, second.
Second, Pat. Right.
Pat, right?
Miss Hughley Green, everyone
Yes.
on to approve the agenda it'll be a hand vote.
Hand vote, all right. All in favor, raise your hand. Are there any opposed? All right, the next section of our agenda is the election of board officers. And at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Greg Ellington, our parliamentarian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the board policy indicates that the board will elect officers at its first meeting every January, and that is tonight. A nomination, a vote, and a minimum of 5 affirmative votes are needed to carry an election to serve as chair or vice chair. I want everybody to remember that nominations from the floor do not require a second. So at this time, I'll open the floor to nominations for somebody to serve this coming year as your board chair.
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Pat Green.
Okay, Ms. Buckner, Pat Green has been nominated.
I'd like to move to close the nominations.
All right. Well, let me just ask, are there any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, nominations are now closed. I will now ask that you vote in favor of Pat Green to serve as your chair for the coming year. And I guess we're doing hand votes for this. And although I have to say, I cannot see everybody's screen, so somebody else is going to have to tell me if we have the hands raised to pass this motions. But all in favor, please raise your hand affirmatively.
Affirmative.
Are there any no votes? I can't tell if there are. Having nobody tell me otherwise, I'm gonna assume not, and that motion carries, and that Ms. Green has been elected as your chair.
It was unanimous.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Jones. I recognize that voice. All right. So we'll now conduct the same format with respect to your vice chair. Are there any nominations to serve as your vice chair for the coming year?
I would like to nominate Laurie McCray.
All right. Ms. Tillery, Ms. McCray has been nominated.
I'd like to close the nominations.
I hear you, Ms. Buckner. Are there any other nominations before we close them? Hearing none, we'll consider the nominations now closed. All in favor of Ms. McCray to serve as your vice chair for the coming year, please raise your hand affirmatively.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. All right, that concludes the election of your chair and vice chair. Under state law and your board policy, your superintendent serves as your secretary. Your legal counsel serves as your parliamentarian, and your treasurer serves as your CFO. Given that those are mandated by state law and your policy, I would suggest that we take those as a simple slate, but take a vote on them nonetheless. All in favor of those slate of officers, that is secretary, treasurer, and parliamentarian, please raise your hand in the affirmative. Any opposed? Ms. Jones, it looks like that passed. I think I see everybody's faces now.
If I may, I'd just like to congratulate Ms. Hughley Green and Ms. McCray, and thank you for your willingness to serve in these leadership roles. We are very fortunate to have good leadership and appreciate all that you're doing to help lead and guide our organization. Thank you very much.
With that, Ms. Green, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ellington. Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Thank you to board members. As always, I appreciate the way we move as a team and as a governance team and as leaders in our community. So thank you very much for the opportunity to lead. So I stated earlier, was someone saying something? For 3.01, the hearing will be rescheduled and we will conduct that hearing at our February 10th, 5:00 p.m. board meeting. Surely we will be in person. We won't have such another opportunity to have this beautiful snow that we're seeing.
From your lips to God's ears.
Madam Chair, if I might, we're considering, and we'll discuss this further, but we're considering actually adding another public hearing on the calendar in the coming weeks or months. So it may be that there's another public hearing even before the board work session, but we're looking at those options, and we'll put out a notice to the public at least a week in advance if we add one of those.
Right, because we're required to have 3, but we did advertise for 4, and I'm glad that we're doing 4 opportunities for our citizens for us to hear from our citizens.
Yes, ma'am. We were just concerned that there may be some citizens who wanted to be heard who could not be heard in this virtual format tonight, and so we didn't want anybody to be denied the opportunity to be heard. So we'll revisit those public hearings in the future.
All right, good deal. So item section 4, I've already opened the meeting because we would have been in the hearings, but we're actually in our work session right now. Item 6.01, the district-wide recognitions also will be at our February meeting. Is that right, Ms. Jones?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll skip this section with the district-wide recognition, and we'll go into the public agenda. And we do we have Ms. Teresa Elamine?
We do not see Ms.
Okay.
Alvin.
And Mr. Olson already indicated that he will wait until February. But I do, since we're in this virtual format as well, I will go ahead and do as we do and do as I do in person, read the background and rationale. All official meetings of the board shall be open to the press and the public. However, the board may meet in executive session. Speakers' remarks should be directed to the board and shall be limited to 5 minutes. Citizens are encouraged to address items on the board agenda or to initiate presentation or issues appropriate for school board consideration. It is an individual, if an individual desires to speak, they may contact superintendent's office to be placed on the agenda. The board meeting or the work session is not the appropriate place to address either criticisms of particular employees or individual parent complaints, which such complaints have not been first addressed to the attention of the appropriate administrator for a resolution. Citizens are encouraged to follow normal channels to address individual parent complaints and or problems. And that is done again through the superintendent's office, through Ms. Karen Jones. Our action agenda, the 8.01 revised 2025 legislative priorities.
Move to approve. Naomi Buckner.
All right, motion by Ms. Buckner. Is there a second?
Second.
And just for clarity, what y'all are voting on is the actual language that we're going to send to our legislative delegation to change the way in which the board fills vacancies if there is one on the board. And so the actual language is attached to the agenda. And I know there's been some commentary about it. And I just want to make sure we're not just changing the legislative agenda. You're actually submitting the language that will constitute the bill that the Georgia Assembly will take up.
I have a
request.
Who was that second? Who was that second?
Me. I second, but I have a question.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to, so I can't really see.
Dr. Chambers.
Dr. Chambers.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, go ahead with the questions because Legislative Council is asking for
in session. I understand. Okay, Greg, my question, and I did ask this via email, but I didn't get a response back. I just want to make sure that if we want to make a change, and I have no objection to the way it's written or the format to go in our policy. But does that mean we then have to go back to legislation if there are any changes, or can we tweak this once we put it into our policy manual? And I realize we can't put it into our policy manual until after it's approved. So can you explain or provide some clarity on that for me?
Yeah, and I apologize if I didn't see your question via email. I did not see it, and I apologize if I missed it. So it's not a yes and no answer, Dr. Chambers. So there are parts of this that you could change because they're in your local policy already as to how the board will function to select somebody to fill the vacancy amongst yourselves. How you go about that process, that is in your local policy. If you wanted to change the way that the process works in terms of having an election typically in May, or that and the board being able to fill a vacancy until that election can be held during the nonpartisan presidential primary elections in May, that would have to go back to the state. But in terms of how you control your the internal process of selecting the person that the board would fill the vacancy with, that is local at this point.
That was my concern. I wanted to make sure we were keeping at least that part local, and we wouldn't have to go back to legislation every time we wanted to make a local change.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with the other portion of the legislation. So, okay. Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
one quick question, because I'm not fully knowledgeable on our election system, but it says,
Can you turn your volume up some, Lori?
yeah, sorry, I'm also worried my dog's gonna start barking. So anyway, just the way it says, okay, general election preceding the general election at which a successor will be elected to a new full term, then such vacancy shall be filled. It just keeps saying general election. So do we only have general elections every 2 years?
Yes, ma'am. That's
I
right.
guess when it said that it would be held on the same date as said general election preceding the general election, I guess I just didn't know if it would be clear if it said the next general election. But I mean, I guess if we only have every 2 years, then we're fine.
Yes, ma'am. I guess where I come down on that, I share your thoughts on the phrasing of that, but it is right out of the state statute. And so I think for consistency's sake, and having had it explained to me by Nancy Boren, who, lives with it day, as her job, basically the way it works is that in May, there will be the nonpartisan primary before the general election in November. That happens every 2 years. And so that's why that language, I guess, is repetitive. The way it reads, it repeats itself. I mean, I puzzled over it, but it is
general election to mean that we would still do a May election, because the way I read this, I would think
that's right.
It could happen in November,
because that's where that language that it says before that.
As long as she's told you that it achieves what we've kind of said.
It
I mean,
does.
it almost kind of opens it up to where if there was some other one, but no,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
so we're ready to vote now?
I think so.
All right, let's vote. Raise your hand if you're not voting electronically. And state your name.
Vanessa Jackson.
Mark
Cantrell.
Voting in the affirmative, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Chambers, and it's affirmative.
All right, that passes. Thank you so very much. Next item. 8.02, the Board of Education meeting schedule for 2025. Please mark your calendars, your notifications, reminders, however you list that for yourself. Monday, February 17th, 2025. Monday, June 23rd. Monday, July 21st will be a combined board work session and meeting. Monday, December 15th will be a combined work session and board meeting. And Monday, January 19th, 2026.
I'd like to move to approve the new schedule for training for the board meetings.
All right, sounds
Second.
like Chambers. All right, and second,
Second, Pat.
Pat Frey. All right. All in favor, raise your hand or vote electronically or state in the affirmative. All in favor.
Affirmative, Vanessa Jackson.
Did we get everybody?
Mr. Cantrell,
Get back. I vote affirmative.
All right, thank you so very much. That passes. Item 8.03 is the purchase of Rose Hill School property.
Move to approve.
Second,
Pat Freya motion, and the second was,
yes.
all right, was Chambers. Are there any questions? And this, the superintendent is recommending, the approval of the sale of Rose Hill School property at the purchase price of $100,000 to include a realtor commission of $7,000. Are there any questions while we're voting electronically? And if you're voting by
Vote
hand,
affirmative.
state affirmative in your name.
Vanessa Jackson.
Is that everybody?
Dr. Chambers.
Dr. Chambers, affirmative.
Mr. Cantrell?
I vote affirmative.
All right, thank you. That passes. Next item is 8.04 is the allocation of the 2020 East Bloss funding. Motion,
Move to approve.
that was Chambers, second.
Second, Jackson.
Second.
Jackson. Are there any questions? We're ready to vote now electronically. If you're voting by hand, state your name in the affirmative.
Dr. Chambers.
Mark Cantrell, affirmative.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
I think that was everybody. All right, that passes. Next item is 8.05 is the land swap at Forest Road Elementary School site.
So moved, Pat Fry.
All right.
Second, Dr. Chambers.
Second, Chambers. Are there any additional questions? And that the superintendent is recommending the approval of the land swap at Forest Road Elementary School with Wiser Home Builders on the site at the elementary school. Voting by hand, please state your name and affirmative.
Dr. Chambers, affirmative.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
Mark Cantrell, affirmative.
That's everybody. All right, that passes. Next item is 8.06.
Madam Chair, that's just a reminder, this is the revision, the revised amendment to that easement that we had mentioned at the board table last week, and I sent to all of our board members for action tonight.
So moved, Pat Fry.
All right. Motion by Frey.
Second.
That was two people.
Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Okay, second by Ms. Jackson. Are there any questions? We're ready to vote now electronically, and this is the approval of the amendment to the easement with Greystone Point LLC for pedestrian and emergency access. Located at Old Guard Road.
Dr. Chambers, and I vote in the affirmative.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
Mark Cantrell, affirmative.
Sounds like everybody. That passes. Next item is 8.07, the construction manager HVAC for various schools. Motion by
Buckner.
Buckner, second.
Chambers.
Chambers. Are there any additional questions? And so let's see, the superintendent is recommending the approval of Peach Engineering to design the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment for Diamond, Fox, Richards, Rothschild Middle School. Voting by hand, go ahead and state your name in the affirmative.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
Mark
I think that's everybody.
Go ahead. I'm affirmative.
Yeah.
That passes. 8.08. The construction manager HVAC at Blackman Road Middle School, Blackman Road Middle School.
Move to approve Buckner.
Motion by Buckner, second.
Second, Dr.
Second.
Chambers.
Chambers. Are there any additional questions? We are ready to vote now. Voting by hand, state your name and affirmative.
Dr. Chambers, affirmative.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
Mark Cantrell, affirmative.
All right, that passes. Last item is 8.09, the construction manager for Connect Stadium. Superintendent is recommending Freeman and Associates to serve as a construction manager for Connect Stadium upgrade.
Move to approve, Dr. Chambers.
Second.
Second, Mark Cantrell.
Are there any additional questions? All right, we're ready to vote now. Voting by hand, please state your name.
Dr.
Dave.
Chambers in the affirmative.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
Mark Cantrell, affirmative.
Sounds like everybody. Did it show everybody I voted?
Yes, ma'am, it was unanimous.
All right, thank you so much. Next, we have our consent agenda. We did even last week where we were in person and discussed these items at length. And so tonight and at every board meeting, regular scheduled board meeting, the consent agenda compiles all of those items and we vote on them at one time. Is there any item that there's an additional question or where you need to pull it out for any further discussion? Otherwise, I need
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Buckner.
Second.
Okay, I had a question.
Okay, which item?
9.07, which Kia brought up last week. I know we were provided the information in an email, but it wasn't attached to the agenda. So I was wondering, I feel better about it having gotten the information we got, but I would like for the, public, anybody else that looks on our agenda to be able to see that background. So can we have that added to the agenda just for anybody else that wants to go back? I mean, I know it's not going to affect tonight, but for future reference, if they want to go back and look at that 2 million.
We'll go back and take that verbiage and attach it to this agenda item
Okay, thank
in the
you.
archives, yes.
Thank you.
All right, we're ready to vote now.
I'm sorry, I missed the second.
Was it Chambers?
Seconded. Jackson.
Jackson? Okay. Jackson was second.
But Dr. Chambers, I'm voting in the affirmative for the consent agenda.
Vanessa Jackson, affirmative.
We getting some sketchy internet.
Yes.
Mark.
Mark Cantrell, affirmative.
I think that's everybody. And of course, we like to thank the citizens who donate to all of our school projects or to the schools and to the Muscogee County School District. Thank you so much for your support and the public-private partnership. Did that pop up yet with everybody? Yes. All right, that passes. And also, like the hearing, the executive session will also be moved to our February meeting. Dr. Lewis, did you want to update parents?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank and recognize Mike Barden, Roger Jacobson, and all the DIS team who made this possible this evening, Karen Jones as well. It takes a lot of moving parts to put this all together, and I really appreciate them being able to adjust on the fly like this so we can accommodate having these meetings for our public and for full transparency. So thank you to them as well. Also, weather updates. As you know, we've been out today and we'll be again tomorrow. We won't know anything about for Thursday until we have an opportunity to check weather conditions tomorrow, determine the conditions of our roads going forward in order to make sure we have safe transportation for both students on buses as well as on in private vehicles. And also as in order for us to check our buildings and make sure we don't have any burst pipes and that sort of thing. So we do appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as we go forward with this process. It's our endeavor to try and make sure that we inform everyone no later than 4 o'clock tomorrow regarding the possibility of continuing virtual on Thursday. Again, we do know that with all the snow we've had, it will melt some tomorrow, but it will again refreeze tomorrow evening, which could present challenges for bus transportation. But again, that depends on the amount of sunlight and wind we have tomorrow. So lots of different factors in play. But please know we take this very seriously for the safety and welfare of students and staff, and we'll make the decisions accordingly. But just wanted everybody to know that we will let everybody know no later than 4 o'clock tomorrow regarding school on Thursday. But again, thank you all for your patience, cooperation, and for everyone's help as we've moved forward through this weather situation. So thank you all.
Thank you so very much. Board members, anything for the good of the order?
No, just everybody stay safe and
Stay safe.
as warm as possible.
Stay warm.
sure.
Thank you so much for attending. Thank you to DIS. And have a good evening.
We need to officially
Yeah.
adjourn.
Need a
Okay.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
By Ms. Chambers, second.
Move to adjourn.
I'm sorry.
And hand vote. We had a
That was Ms. Bruckner doing the second. All right, perfect. And hand vote, wave goodbye.
Guys, be safe, stay warm.
Bye,
Have a
guys, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Great.
Yes.
Bye.